What is up? My name is Mike Osterman. I'm a two-time freestyle skateboarding world champion and the co-founder of Waltz Skateboarding. And today, we're going to be learning the nose hook impossible. And like the name suggests, the nose hook impossible is done by hooking your front foot under the nose and throwing the board end over end around your back foot. Before you dive into this trick, it's helpful if you're comfortable with tricks like the shove it, the kick flip, and finger flips help too. That's not totally necessary though. You can dive right into this trick. I just think it's easier if you have some experience jumping, flipping the board, and landing back on the board. Tricks like the kick flip, the finger flip, and the shove it get you adjusted to landing on a moving target, which is helpful. Now when I'm doing the nose hook impossible, I like to start with my back foot square on the tail and flat-footed. I don't have my heel lifted. I don't have only my heel on the tail. I'm flat right there. I like to have my front foot hooked under the nose with my knee sort of bent inwards slightly. And I have as much of my front foot under the nose as possible. Notice it's not up here or behind the truck. It is directly under the nose. Now to do the flip, you're going to lift the board with your front foot, jump, and scoop your back foot forward under the board to get the board to start rotating end over end. Once that back foot's under the board, you're going to draw kind of a circular motion with your back foot and attempt to then land back on all four wheels. Seems simple, right? Let's break it down. When you're learning the nose hook impossible, you can sort of break it down into 3 steps. Step number 1 is using your hand to throw the board end over end like that. I like this because it allows you to practice the back foot motion of the trick. Here all I'm doing is lifting the board upward with my hand and scooping my back foot forward, up, and back around, like I would for the nose hook impossible. It's not so much about lifting the board up as it is about scooping under and pulling back. Once you've got the hand flip dialed, you can practice lifting the board slightly with your front foot, trying to get your back foot under the board. So all I'm doing here is lifting with my front foot and trying to do that. I'm trying to scoop my back foot under the board, which is, I think, the most difficult thing about the nose hook impossible. So often you see people do nose hook impossibles and ollie impossibles more like shove-its, where the board just rotates this way. So if you can isolate the step where you just get your foot under the grip tape, you're going to start developing the muscle memory for the scoop. And you'll have fewer instances where the board just does a shove-it and doesn't do the proper end over end flip. So once again, I'm lifting with my front foot and just driving my back foot under the board. And now there isn't a nice tidy transition between that and the full trick. So next we're going to just dive in and try to commit to a full nose hook impossible. Once again, we're lifting the board straight up with our front foot, driving our back foot forward under the grip tape, and then trying to wrap it back to bring all 4 wheels down. All right, now you're watching this video right now saying, Mike, there's no way it's so simple. And you're right, it's not so simple. Everybody's boards, everybody's bodies, everybody's feet are different. And that means that everybody's approaches to skateboarding are different. And the things that you struggle with when learning things like the nose hook impossible are going to be different. But here are 5 things that I see like most people in freestyle skateboarding doing wrong and right when they do the nose hook impossible. Notice that when I'm doing the nose hook impossible, I'm not just staying in one place. I'm actually jumping forward and thrusting my hips towards the nose. And what that does is it helps me get my foot under the board faster and with more power. When When I'm setting up for the trick, I start back here, but notice that after I scoop, I'm actually rolling out of frame. The next thing that helps big time is keeping your back foot flat. I think a lot of skaters have the tendency to put the ball of their foot in the center of the tail when they're doing a trick. But for the nose hook impossible, you want to keep your back foot square and flat on the tail. Think of it like a paddle. Once the board's vertical, your back foot just has to stay in contact with the board, which can be tough. That's only going to be more difficult if you lift your heel and make that section of your foot that's in contact with the board smaller. The more of your foot that's on the tail, the more of your foot that's going to be in contact with the board as it wraps around your foot. So like I mentioned before, getting your back foot under the board is sort of the toughest thing about this trick. Another thing that helps me get my foot under the board more consistently is to lift the nose before I jump. So when I'm setting up for the nose hook impossible, I'll go to the tail stop position, I'll hook my foot under the board, I'll lift, and then I jump. All that does is it gives my back foot a better angle to begin scooping under the board with. Now if you're skating super low trucks or a super long tail and your board's kick angle is only here, that is like when the board's in tail stop, it only goes to about here, this is going to be extra helpful. But if you're somebody who has a short tail or tall trucks, or I don't know, a combination of the two, you might not need this and you might already have a board that's all the way up here. But lift that nose. So another problem that a lot of people have is landing with their feet all the way up here. As the board wraps around your back foot, it's natural to find that your foot tracks up the board. It sort of travels up towards the front trucks. And that can be a really tough way to land. What helps me a ton is bringing my front foot down first. When the board's rotating, I try to bring my front foot down before I start to stomp my back foot. And what that does is it disengages my back foot from the board, drives the board down, and it gives me an extra split second to bring my back foot back to the back bolts. If I don't bring my front foot down first, my back foot stays in contact with the grip tape, and as my back foot moves back, instead of just being able to drift back towards the back bolts, it actually starts pulling the board backwards, and it makes it even worse. This also applies to ollie impossibles. Bring that front foot down first. And finally, I like to turn my back knee in slightly. When I'm setting up for this trick, my front foot's underneath the nose, and instead of having my back foot straight above the tail, I pivot slightly at my ankle, and I try to point my knee ever so slightly towards the nose. It sort of turns my foot into a pendulum, so that when I'm jumping, my foot naturally wants to swing forward. But that natural unwinding of my foot and the pendulum motion that it makes allows my foot to scoop under the tail so much more easily. And again, it avoids that shove it motion that a lot of bad nose hook impossibles do. And this trick also helps a ton with ollie impossibles. So if you're still watching this and you are a big ollie impossible person, this might be the thing that you need to make your ollie impossibles wrap and not just do shove-its. But hey, I'm not here to tell you how to skate. You're doing great. Skate how you want to. Hopefully these tips help you to unlock the nose hook impossible. Once you've got them absolutely dialed, you can try the nose hook to Casper. It's one of my personal favorites. The half cab impossible. The rolling nose hook impossible. I think this trick contributes big time to things like the Casper to Casper. The hand impossible. So give the nose hook impossible a try. It's summertime. It's time to learn some new tricks. You know what I'm saying? It's been really great to see people's progress lately. We're seeing a ton of folks learning new stuff. We want to see more. So keep it up, keep dancing. We'll see you next week for another trick tip. Bye. Oh.